Okay, that's a recording started. So guys, thank you for hopping in the call to hear about my kind of basketball journey and I guess what I've learned through basketball. So I don't know how long this will last. I'm just gonna go back to the beginning, and then if you guys have got any questions, I'm really happy to answer anything that you guys might want to ask. So I guess the best place to start for me is at the beginning. So I got into basketball when I was really young. Like my older brother got into basketball about 9 years old, and I would have been 3 at the time. My older brother is 6 years older than me, and it was just always around. So it kind of went from going to my brother's games as a really young kid, like 4 and 5 years old, to being that really, lack of a better word, really annoying little brother who just wanted to be outside playing with his older brother. So I was finally allowed to go outside and play when I was about 5 years old. And from then, basketball always kind of took on this extra thing to me. It was always like this thing that I enjoyed, this thing that I loved, this thing that really bonded me and my older brother as well, which was really important to me. I'm lucky enough that I've got a household of brothers. I've got 3 brothers, and I think that my older brother, I just always wanted to hang around him and his friends, and again, just that annoying little kid. So because of that experience of playing with 11-year-olds when you're 5, he kind of took on a coach role for me. He would train me how to shoot, train me how to do layups. This was all in our back garden. We didn't even have access to a court, but I was picking up all these little things, like how you do a layup, how do you shoot a jump shot, how do you score against people that are like 20 times the size of you. So I didn't really start practicing with the team until I was about 8 years old. I started training with an under 14 group when I was 8 years old. I was finally convinced my mum to let me go to a little club at Leith Academy, which was across the road from me. So I was training with like, P7s, S1s and S2s. And I think it was Donna Finney, who is now like a college coach in the States. She was like the Edinburgh basketball coordinator at the time, who was running all these little sessions. So again, like I was a very young kid, but I had picked up all these skills and was so used to playing against older people that I could kind of slot in and run around and have fun just like all the older kids. So that was kind of it from then on. I'd go to those Saturday sessions and just kept playing in my back garden with my family and just kept really loving the game and being around the game. When I hit 10 years old, there was a really positive change in the basketball community. Donna Finney had introduced this thing called the Lothian League at the time. So it was a local league, and we used to play at Meadowbank on the big, massive show court for our games before the Edinburgh Rocks played. So the Edinburgh Rocks kind of came into fruition when I was around 10 years old, and we're playing at Meadowbank, and the local league came with it. So my mum and dad, being the proactive parents that they were like, oh, that's cool. There's a league starting. My brother was 16 at the time. He was like, oh, I really want to play in the under 18 team. But, he didn't want to play for any team in Edinburgh, really. He kind of wanted to make his own thing. So we ended up creating our own little team called the Leith Lakers. So we took the Saturday training time that I used to go to as a kid, and it became the Leith Lakers training time. So we had an under 16 and an under 18 team. My older brother at 16, 17 was the head coach for the under 16 team. So I was getting to play with older guys in the under 16 local league when I was 10 years old. And my older brother was playing for the under 18 team, under 18 Leith Lakers. And we had like, these really nasty like purple and yellow kits that I've still got. But that was it. I was getting to play against older and bigger guys. And I'd also, so I was like, there was this weird situation where the under 16 game would be going on, and they also ran like a little mini dribblers league, this under 12 league, which I was playing for a team called Cunyock and the Seven Dwarfs. And I'd literally go from court to court. So I'd be a sub in the under 16 game, and I'd run over to the under 12 game and play, and then back over to the, and then back over. And it was just what I did. You know, I didn't really think too much about, oh, I'm playing with older guys and doing this. It's just became really, really normal. Really, really normal. So again, that was like kind of me till I was 12 years old. And then I transitioned from like, you know, being under 12 to under 14. And that was when basketball got a little bit weird at that time, you know. So there wasn't an under 14 pathway, really. There wasn't under 14 leagues. There wasn't under 14 training sessions. There was a Edinburgh City team, but it wasn't a club. It wasn't like a Boroughmuir Blaze or a City of Edinburgh Kings or West Edinburgh Warriors. It was just like a little regional training group that would get together, and then we'd play against other teams maybe once or twice a year. So I didn't really think about this until I was talking with one of my friends. I didn't have a club at under 14. I was playing, after doing all this basketball, you know, up to under 12, you know, the local league fell away. The Rocks went through to Glasgow. It was all a bit of a weird time in my first years of high school. So I ended up playing in these Edinburgh teams, and I ended up doing pretty well. You know, we had the national tournament, and you know, an under 13, I think I ended up winning player of the tournament, and we won the trophy, and I ended up meeting Robert Archibald, which was a massive honor. It was the year he'd just been drafted into the NBA, and it was all really cool. So there was still some momentum, but there wasn't quite the same momentum. I also started getting invited into the under 13 and under 14 Scotland teams, which were really good experiences. Got to go over to play against other teams in France, and start seeing basketball in a more continental kind of way. And also started getting into the East of Scotland teams. So the reason I know we don't have an East of Scotland or a West of Scotland team anymore, but the way that they used to decide the Scotland team for the under 16s was they would have a regional tournament. And I want to bring this bit up particularly because it was really key for me because of the connections that I made. So in that East of Scotland team, I think I made it when I was under 13 or under 14, which was quite rare to be that young and in that group. But, you know, you'd go to Dundee for a weekend, you'd train a little bit before, go to Dundee for the weekend, and then play against all these other teams. But that was where I met Paul Easton. So some of you might be familiar with him. He does Drills and Skills Basketball on Instagram. He's got like, I don't know, 1 billion followers or something like that. He ended up going to the States to coach, but he was genuinely one of the nicest people I've ever met. And he had that same kind of crazy drive for the game that I feel that I had at that age. You know, I just didn't see anything other than basketball. So he was such a positive influence, and he took a chance on me when I was that young because he saw the desire in me and the intensity that I was pursuing basketball with. And he's also like, you know, now that we're both adults now, he's actually a friend, you know, like, and that was a really cool connection for me to build. And it also gave me that outlet that I needed, you know, because I wasn't getting club basketball at the time, and I wasn't getting as regular competition. So that was like a really good opportunity for me to kind of push things forward and keep that needle going forward, and allowed me to like just get the extra practice and the extra games that I needed to keep pursuing things and keep enjoying it and stay engaged. once I kind of finished that era, the under 14 era, I spent the next 4 years at City of Edinburgh Kings. So that was an interesting experience. I really enjoyed my time there, but not necessarily because of the age group stuff I was doing. Like I really enjoyed playing under 16s. It was a really good learning curve. Playing National League, which I hadn't done yet. I hadn't played in the National League until I was under 15. But it definitely like the opportunity that came from Kings that really helped was I was able to train with the seniors really early on. So the thing that really helped me at Kings was when I was under 15 and just coming in, I was training with the seniors. So it was just an ad lib. Like I'd finish one training session and I think it was Laurie Costello or Gareth Lodge or something just went, yo, Ewan, stay and train. And I was like, what, really? Like, this is like the best team in Scotland at the moment. Like, I'm going to go train with you guys. And they're like, yeah, stay. And I thought it was like, oh, great, like a one-time thing. You know, I'm not going to get invited back. You know, I'm just a wee kid at this point. But no, I was able to keep training and keep getting that extra basketball in, which again was helping grow me up as a person and help get me those extra reps. And when I do see young players now get the opportunity to train senior and they turn it down, or they go, oh, I don't know if it fits in with this or fits in with that. You just have to make it happen. You just have to make it work. If you're serious about basketball, you have to be training with the best that you have available to you. So I was lucky I was getting to train with guys like Kevin Anderson, Laurie Costello, Gareth Lodge, Brett Jeffries, who's probably the best basketball player who's ever come into Scotland. And it was being around all these older guys really helped you see, you know, how far you have to go. It really opens your eyes to that. And I was also able to play games for the local league men's team. So from under 15, you know, I was, you know, playing my usual squad sessions, senior men's sessions, and then playing under 16 games and local league games as well with like guys who maybe used to play National League, but guys who are certainly bigger than you and will challenge you in a different way to what you're going to get challenged with your under 16 basketball. So that was all really positive. That year, so the under 15, under 16 Scotland was probably the toughest kind of transitionary period I've had with Scotland. Like that was tough. When I was under 15, I would say I was a little bit immature and I didn't really get it yet. I didn't really get this, you know, you need to find your role in a team. You need to, you know, I wasn't used to not being one of the better players. You know, you're a year younger, you've got guys who've been playing National League for 2-3 years. But it was certainly an experience that grew me up very quickly. So we had a coach, Eoghann Campbell, who cut me my first year. You know, I thought, you know, great, I'll get to go over and play in the European Championships. Let's see what happens. You know, I'm really, you know, I got cut. And that was the first time in my life, you know, maybe, you know, that I wasn't accelerating. So it made me have to go back and look at myself and think, you know, well, what do I want? Like, how am I going to do that? Like, it's not necessarily about me being better or this or taller or this. It's about what can I bring that's going to help the team, but also help make me stand out. So go back in, my last under 16 year goes well, get selected for Scotland, but that wasn't really what I wanted. Like I wanted to play the year up. I wanted to play, you know, if I was under 16, I wanted to play under 17. If I was under 17, I wanted to play under 18. That was my driver. So the under 16 season came and went. It was good. It was positive. I enjoyed myself. But then I moved up to under 18 basketball. So my under 18 years, you know, I managed to go away with Scotland to Euro B, but by the skin of my teeth. You know what I mean? Like I was like, I had Tom Campbell, who I honestly cannot say enough good things about Tom Campbell. I loved having him as a coach. He was really strict. He was very disciplined. But I really thrived under that because I felt above everything, he was fair. He was really fair coach. And I really respect him so much, and him and Bob Taft and Clark Leishman. But my journey for that, you know, I got cut when I was under 15. So I knew I had to make this team. Like I felt I had to make it. So I was like, all right, what can I do that's going to make me stand out? And, you know, for me, I wanted to be the best defender on the team. I wanted to be the absolute craziest, most intense, craziest 5 foot, you know, 8'5'9" guard that there possibly could be on the court. So that's what I committed myself to. I was like, I don't care if I score points. I don't care if I do this. I am going to be the biggest pest you have ever seen on this basketball floor. And that's, you know, what I felt the coach saw in me. He was like, you know, this guy, if I put him on the best player, or he's got to run through screens, he's got to run through a brick wall, he'll do that for me. And that's where I started like, okay, like maybe what I'm lacking in height, strength, skill, whatever it may be, I can make up for with hard work, intensity, and just that desire to get it done for the team. So we went to Euro B, which was an unbelievable experience. You know, you play 9 games in 2.5 weeks, I think it is. You know, I made that final team, you know, which I'd really set myself on doing. And, you know, the first few games came and went, and I played about 2-3 minutes. But whatever time I was given, I was going crazy with it. You know, I was like, you know, trying to get steals, diving on the ball, like, you know, just whatever needed to be done. I was there to do the dirty work. And around game 4 or 5, I actually got a start. I actually got to start against Slovakia, which I had no idea that I was going to start, but I was absolutely buzzing. Like I knew I'd worked so hard, and every time I was on the floor that the coach was then giving me, you know, the trust to actually go and start a game. And that momentum kept going till the end of the tournament when, you know, the only game we won was the last game, which was an overtime game against Ireland. And the coach had built so much trust in me that he let me play the whole, I think it was like the whole 4th quarter and the overtime period. And for me to be able to finish that game in like Scotland's first win in Euro B at under 18 and forever, like that was just such an unbelievable feeling. And it really gave me the momentum going into my under 18 year. So going into my under 18 year, I hadn't won any National League. You know, I hadn't won the under 16 National League. We'd finished like 3rd or 4th. But one thing I took away from under 17 year was, you know, discipline. What do you need to do to get the job done? So we go in and there's another player who plays my position. So that's Craig Riley. You know, he plays the same position as me, and he's a very good player and a very good guy. And the conversation at the start was like, well, we both can't play point guard. That's not the way the team was set up. That's not the way it's going to work. And I was like, you know what, like Craig, you know, I wanted Craig to play point guard. The coach approached me, you know, at the start of the season and was like, look, this is what I see happening. And my answer was, whatever we need to do, we're gonna win this year. We're gonna win. Whatever we need to do, I'll play 2, I'll play 3, I'll guard whoever. Just tell me what you need me to do. That season, I think we went undefeated in the league, or we lost 1 game. Ended up winning. Craig played great. I played great. You know, and the other players around us played really, really well as well. Like they played great as well. And you know, it wasn't necessarily that I was scoring loads of points or being the man or anything like that. Like everyone was a man on that team and we were all doing our bit, you know. And I felt that was one of the most positive situations I'd been in to that date. Probably the most positive situation of my youth basketball career was that season. It culminated in us winning the league, which I hadn't done, and I felt amazing. And then secondly, we won the Scottish Cup, but we won it in overtime on a steal that I made at the halfway line and managed to score the layup to finish. So that was just like an unreal feeling. And it was nice to kind of finish my youth career on such a high from a club perspective. We then went away with the Scotland team for under 18s, and we won the European, we won the Small Nations, Euro C, or whatever they call it now. But again, like, we were the first Scotland under 18 team to do that in a long time. And it's not that we were the most talented or the best bunch, but we worked so well together and we worked so hard for each other. And, you know, a lot of people say, oh, Scotland, they should be winning this, they should be winning that at Euro C. Well, a lot of teams hadn't. And we were fortunate enough that, you know, with TC and his disciplined approach and him pulling the right pieces together, we were able to win and be successful. But again, the same rules applied. Whatever he needed me to do, I was delighted. I was happy to do it. I was honored to do it. Like, when you put on that Scotland jersey, it's the best feeling. So I was honored to help and do whatever I could. So yeah, that's pretty much everything up to under 18. So now I better speed up a little bit. So after my under 18 year, I went over to the States for a year. So I went over and lived in a small place called Albion, Michigan. And I'm not going to lie, it wasn't the best for me personally for basketball. Like, I actually didn't find my feet. You know, like, the basketball season was 3 months long. There's not much of a preseason. You play like a bunch of games. The rules were very different. So like, we were playing something like 8-minute quarters and there was no shot clock. So like, some games were just dead. Like, it's not the kind of European speed and the FIBA rules where it's, you know, so there was so much to adjust to, and the coach didn't know I was coming. You know, the coach didn't know I was coming. It was through the flag program, which quite a lot of people from Scotland, from the basketball community, have done, but it wasn't the best basketball situation. So it was a really good learning experience in terms of, you know, living a different life, living with a new host family, seeing some different kind of socioeconomic problems that people live with in America, and what the culture is like over there, because it's a very divided culture. So the team did have success. We made the quarterfinal of the state tournament. I made some friends for life, which was amazing. But actually, in terms of a basketball experience individually, it probably wasn't the right one for me. The aim, of course, was to go out there and try and stay over there. But the only kind of interest I had was from the local college. And again, it was only a part-time scholarship, like literally offering me next to nothing. And, you know, it would have cost something like $70,000 a semester, which my parents, you know, funnily enough, did not have enough money to pay for, and it probably wouldn't have been a good fit for me anyway. So I ended up coming back over to Scotland after that year, and I went back to Kings. So I went back to Kings for about half a season. It started off really well. You know, I came back and I improved, and there was good momentum. I was getting quite a lot of time in the senior men team, but then some new players came back. Some new players came in that played my position, and some old players came back who were more experienced and, you know, definitely had more pedigree than me at the time. So I had to make the tough decision to leave Kings, which was a really tough decision for me because I really liked the coach Danny. I liked the guys. It just, I wasn't playing. You know, I had 2 or 3 games where I saw about 2 minutes of floor time when, you know, the 7 games before I'd played, you know, 20, 25 minutes. And so I had to leave because it was the right decision for me. But I'm always thankful for Danny Costello and how helpful he was, you know, when I was a kid to even when I came back, and how we still have a positive relationship now, even though I left his club. So I went and played for a team called East Lothian Peregrines for a year and a half after that. So I played a season and a half with them, and it was tough. It was tough. You know, I was their starting point guard at 19 years old. not much experience. The guys around us probably didn't take it as seriously as they should. We had a coach who was super committed, but maybe the team, we weren't that strong. And we finished bottom of the National League for 2 years in a row and probably won about 3 games in that span. But it was positive for me because I got the opportunity to play. I got the opportunity to play, even though I'm losing, even though I'm finding it frustrating. You're still playing, so you're still getting better. You can still take what you've learned and apply it to other things. And that's when, I finished my little college course that I was doing in Scotland, and I went down to England. So there'd been quite a lot of players like 6 years ahead of me, like my brother's friends who had gone to England. They'd gone to places like Newcastle, Northumbria. I think a couple of guys who went down to Solent, down in Southampton. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to go and try England for a little bit because it's probably going to be a little bit more serious, bit of a better infrastructure. So like I'm doing my UCAS form and I'm just like, oh, any school that's got like a BBL team attached to it, like I'm gonna go there. So I looked at Northumbria because the Eagles. I looked at Loughborough because the Leicester Riders. I looked basically anywhere apart from Scotland. I just wanted to be away for a bit. And lucky for me, the only school that accepted me to do a degree was the University of Worcester. So I only knew one other person that had gone to Worcester in my life, and it was a guy I'd played Scotland under 23 with called Rory Petrie. So I messaged him, yo, Rory, what's Worcester like? Should I go? And I'd already accepted. I already knew I was going. He just went, no. He just went, no, straight up, like, don't go there. Like, it's not a good school. So I decided, like, yeah, I'm going to go. I'm going to take a chance. We'll see what happens. And hopefully it'll all work out. I didn't go to any open days. I didn't know what the accommodation I was going to be living in was like. I just got in the car, drove 8 hours, and my parents just, they left me at the door, and I got on with things. I didn't contact the coach beforehand. I didn't say nothing to anyone. I just showed up and took a chance on myself. And it definitely was the kind of basketball experience that grew me up the most, like living by yourself, being accountable for yourself, having to show up in the right manner, whilst being, 20 and really irresponsible it's a tough balance. It's a tough balancing act. So, so the first year I played uni second team, and I was on the Worcester Wolves the second team for the Worcester Wolves. So we were playing in like the Birmingham like regional league, like the Gold League or whatever they called it. They'd scrapped the National League program. They weren't investing in it like the second team. So end up playing Birmingham local league for a year, mixed in with like, I think Division 2 Bucks. So not the highest of levels, but the amount I was training and the amount I was putting in and the kind of positive coaching I was receiving off a guy called Nick Johnson, who like, honestly, like is one of the best guys I've ever met. Like fantastic guy, was so supportive and encouraging. But you're around that environment where there's like 60 other basketball players around you who all want to be, in the BBL program. They all want to be in the first team. It's a competitive environment. Everyone wants it. Everyone wants to be in the top team, but obviously there's only so many spots. So I used that first season to really just grind. I had my fun, but I was grafting. I was in the gym every day. I was shooting as much as I could. I was, going to every single training session that I could. I was putting in the extra work to allow myself to actually, make those teams that I wanted to make. I still wasn't expecting anything, like it's a very competitive program. They get Americans in, they get, foreign students in, they get master's students in who have played professionally for years, but are kind of winding their career down. Like it's a tough place to kind of get noticed, let alone actually break through the cracks. But thankfully, that summer, I just put in tons of work. I was I was getting the opportunity to come up and play with the Scotland under-23 team, with like Adrian and Ben O'Connell and Ross Hutton and those guys, and we got to do a few tournaments overseas. But I was in the gym every day, like shooting, you know, just doing whatever I could to make myself good enough for that next level. So lucky enough for me, you know, that second year, you know, all the pro guys had come in and they'd been training for about a month. Uni guys come back and we do our tryout, and you know, Paul James pulled me to the side after the tryout and was like, yo, like, I really like your skill set. I like what you've done this year. You've really improved. How would you feel about training with the BBL team and being, you know, uni first team? And I was like, yeah, all right. All right. Yeah, that sounds great. I did not know the training schedule at the time, but like, yeah, I was so up for it. And, you know, he was very complimentary about my skill set, and, you know, I really thought it was going to be a really good fit. It really opened my eyes to how difficult it is to be a professional basketball player. Like, we were literally like, so our training schedule, no lie, was one of the most extensive training schedules in the league. So we were training at least 2 times a day. At least 2 times a day. You'd have afternoon shoot around, evening training, morning training, afternoon shoot around, evening training, and just non-stop. At that time, the Wolves seconds had gone into the English National League. So I was playing for the Bucks team in the Prem division, which is essentially like a BBL reserve league. You know, like all these teams like Loughborough and Northumbria, they're bringing in their BBL, some of their BBL guys, younger BBL guys to play. You know, I was training with the BBL team, sitting on the bench for the BBL team a lot. You know, I got a few games and a few minutes here and there. And then I was playing in the Wolves second team as well. So, you know, I remember sitting with PJ at like the end of season review, and he was like, oh, so you've been around, you would have played about, and we worked it out, it was probably around 60 or 70 games in that season, as well as doing all the training that I could and lifting and, you know, all the extra bits around it, and trying to study and trying to, you know, maintain friendship groups and have a uni social life. You know, it's you can't sleep on that. Like, you need to have good people around you and good relationships around you as well. And then yeah, again, that was a script for 2 years. Like, I just learned how difficult it is to be in that environment. You know, like, it's tough because really, like, you have to do so many things right, and you need to take your opportunities. And unfortunately, from the BBL perspective, I wasn't able to ever get enough run of games, wasn't able to stand out enough in training, wasn't able to just break through. You know, I look at now, like, I'm undersized, I'm not the quickest, I'm not this. So to even get to where I got to with no favors, you know, like, was an amazing accomplishment for me. And it was tough to kind of say goodbye to that dream, because mentally it had drained me so much. Like, when I left uni after that 2 years in the BBL, I was drained. I didn't even know if I wanted to play basketball after that, because you put so much time and so much effort into it. And, you know, everyone does want to be a professional player when you're serious about it. And kind of knowing that that's not going to be the case for you, it's a tough thing to accept. And, you know, it's tough to not become cynical about the sport, you know, because it's something we all love, it's something we all cherish, but making that next step up is difficult. And you've got to be really mentally prepared, and you've got to be super focused and just on it. And even then, it might be a step too far, but that's also okay. So luckily, you know, I came back up to Edinburgh after I finished, you know, my time with the Wolves, and I went to a few open runs with a team called Blaze. Like, I'd kind of known about Blaze, but I didn't really know they were National League, and I didn't know that they were where they'd progressed so far in my time since I'd been away. And I didn't really fancy going back to Kings just because I felt, again, like I'd left their program before. I don't think they would have really wanted me or accepted me coming back, and that's okay. That's just felt like it wasn't a good fit. So I ended up, signing up for Blaze and going from there. Really, like, it was really nice to be playing minutes in the Scottish National League, and still learning. Like, I think that's the thing that people don't get. Like, when I came back up, like, I'd been in a position where I was a facilitator. I didn't really shoot much, didn't really look to score much. Facilitate, play defense, facilitate, play defense. That was my game. So coming up to Blaze, I was suddenly allowed to shoot the ball, which was something I had to really get comfortable with, and I had to change and learn and adapt. But I also had to change my leadership style. Now, I think anyone who knows me, I'm quite loud, I'm quite direct, I'm quite this, but I had to change that. I had to change how that was and become more supportive, because the nature of the club and the thing that's grown me is we're in it together. It's never a dictatorship. It's never me chewing you out. And it shouldn't ever be a teammate chewing out other teammates. You're all in the same boat. If someone starts rocking the boat and a bunch of people fall out, like, what good is that? You need to just try and row in the right direction. So being at Blaze, those first early years, I had to learn how to be a facilitator and learn how to use my scoring ability as well, because I'd never had to think about that before. I never had to balance those two things before. I just played, and I'm learning how to do it now. How do you fit yourself and insert yourself into the game? And it changes year by year based on who's around you. But those kind of year 3 or 4 with Blaze, I'm in year 6 or 7 now, and we're able to win the league for the first time. And that was a process of us learning to trust each other and developing as a group. It wasn't just one person's development, but we're all so committed to just getting a little bit better each year and a little bit better each year. And we were able to win the league and the cup and the playoffs for the first time in like 40 years. And it just goes to show you, like, having the right approach and the right mindset and being in it together can have really positive effects. And I think the biggest thing I've learned in that time is when you have to do what's right for yourself, but you also have to do what's right for others as well. There's no point in your journey only being about you, and especially in a team sport. So for me, like, my time earlier in my years before, like, Worcester and all these things, it was all about me. Our journey was all about me. It wasn't really about the other people in it. And I feel that Blaze opened my eyes to it being about everyone, about all these other people. And that's allowed me to become not just like a better basketball player or a better communicator. It's made me a better person. And I think that's like the biggest thing that I've taken away from my time at Blaze. I was also lucky enough, like, off the back of Worcester and off the back of playing for Blaze, I was able to get myself into the Scotland team and go away and play. I got my debut against England and like the curtain raiser for the BBL trophy. It was a year after I left Worcester, and like, it was such a surreal experience because, I'd worked so hard to get to the Scotland senior men level. I'd spent all that time in England, I'd spent that time at East Lothian and time of the Kings, and it all came to this point. And Worcester were actually playing in the BBL trophy final, like the game after us. So when I finished the game, I was like walking away, like down towards the changing room or whatever, and like literally like about like 200 Worcester fans were all shouting for me, and like I'm seeing like all these people that have been so close and important to me 3 years the year prior, and it was just such an unreal experience to go like, okay, I've done this time, and it's led to me being able to represent my country. I get to see all these people that I really care about, you know, for my debut, and it was just like a surreal experience. And from there, you know, I got to go away to the European Championships with Scotland in 2016, I think it was, 2017. And I sadly, I just missed out on a Commonwealth Games spot. Like I was one of the 3 reserves that they named. But again, like, I don't know, like all these experiences and all these cool things that happen, and even the bad things that happen, they just make you a better person. And that, I guess that's the thing that I'd take away from anything. Like, whether it's good or bad, it's going to grow you in some way. It's going to grow you in some direction, and maybe not a direction you ever saw, but it's a great journey. Like, what can I say? Like, basketball has been my life for a long time, and it's been a great journey so far. I'll cut it there. Does anyone have any questions? I'm really keen to answer them.
How did you get into coaching?
Good question. I got into coaching when I was about 18 or 19. When I came back from America, my younger brother was playing for the Leaf Academy school team, so they offered me a wee position to coach for them. And it's just something that I've always done alongside my playing. And I used to do quite a bit of coaching when I was in Worcester as well. So it's always just been something that I've been interested in and pursuing.
Do you think that your coaching helped make you into a better player?
Oh, good question. I think now that coaching has become more serious for me, because obviously, you know, I'm lucky enough that I get to coach the 16s women's national team and the great teams at Blaze. I think now it has, because I'm more reflective about my coaching. I'm not just coaching for the sake of it. Now there's like a purpose and a motivation behind my coaching. So I think it's definitely helped me now more so than when I was younger. Ella, that's a really good question. I think so. Ella's asked if I can dunk and have I posterized someone. No, that's never been the strong point of my game, and I've not posterized anyone apart from Pete on the 8-foot hoops at the Crags. Good question though.
I got one for you, Ian. So, like, of all the, obviously you played with many teams, you got all these experiences. Is there like one game or one team that sticks out for you the most, that was like either like the most enjoyable, or you find like you learned the most from that experience?
Ooh, that is a very good. That's a tough one, man. That's a tough one. I think okay, I've got two. Obviously. I think a game that really sticks out for me, there was a Worcester Wolves Newcastle Eagle game, and I got to see like literally some of the best guys for the BBL. It was like Charles Smith, and we had a really strong team that year. I think we finished like 3rd in the league that year. But watching the American guys we had on our team, Richie and Tommy and Prezi, go up against Charles Smith, and I'm trying to remember their names. Like Charles Smith beat us on the buzzer or something like that, but just the intensity and being around that game and the atmosphere in the crowd, that was insane. Like, that was one of the coolest like finishes to a game I've ever seen, even though we ended up losing. I wasn't playing, so it's kind of like a bit easier to take for me. But like, yeah, just the intensity in that game and just watching really experienced pros do it at that level, was really, really cool to watch and be a part of. And I remember like feeling during that game, like, oh, this is different. And then I would say another game is actually, actually the cup final, this past cup final where, Sam went off and we were able to win the cup. Just like we've made a lot of finals. We've made tons of finals, but actually the amount of prep and the amount of work that went into actually getting over that hurdle and winning a final, and seeing that all come together, that just taught me a lot about the process, like trusting that process and trusting in yourself and what you guys are going to do as a collective. Helped that Sam had 27 though. Ooh. Good question, Abby. So Abby's asked, what are your views on getting women into sport? Abby, I think that is one of the most important things that we're working on as a club and as a society. I think the outlet for women's sport isn't big enough right now. I don't think that there's enough opportunities. I don't think that there's enough structure and strategy around what people are trying to do to get women into sport. And for me, it's something that I really, really do care about. I think that we definitely need to shine a light on, past Scottish players who have gone on to be high achievers, and also players who celebrate players who are playing in our women's national league at a high level right now. I don't think enough celebration is put into the women that have been before, and I think we need to learn from that and put more effort into the female game now, which is why I love coaching the under 14 girls that plays, and I'm really proud to be the under 16 Women's Scotland coach as well. Ella, yes, I've broken a few ankles in my time, and there's been a couple that kind of really, really stick out, but there was one particular one I got where it was like a step back, the guy jumped, I went to cross back through, and then he fell, and then I hit an open teammate. That's one play that stood out for me. I think that was against someone. No worries, Abby. No worries.
You mentioned like when you played in Worcester, obviously that's like a really high level team and you got lots of training stuff from that, but not much game time. Yeah. And then playing in teams in Scotland, for example, you're getting lots of game time and the training as well that comes with that. Is there one that you think is more like effective for you? Like one you felt you got more out of getting that high quality training and team, or getting lots of game time but in a less good team?
That's a really, really good question, Zoe. I was lucky enough in Worcester that we had the second team because I was still playing English National League, so I was getting a lot of time like English National League. That's a really good question. I think personally, game time is the most important thing. I think like there's only so much training you can do. There's only so much training you can do, but even though you're playing the game, you're playing against the same people all the time. You're doing the same things over and over again. It's only going to benefit you so much. You're going to hit a peak with that. For me, I think game time above all else is the most important thing. And that doesn't necessarily have to be like just in a game. Like you've got to go and pursue your own journey as well. So like it might be like, for example, you played National League X number of minutes, but like go and play in the park, go and play with your friends and go and explore that, So Worcester was definitely a best case of both, because I was playing at the National League level but training at the high level, so I got a good mix of both. But I think just game time over anything, definitely, and just playing, just enjoy it. Does that? Yeah, I think that answers that.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
Probably have more to that. Yeah, probably have more to add to that, but that's a good question. Yeah. Do we have any more questions? Definitely gonna have to edit this, the airtime out. Oh, what do you think is the best way to improve your game from Eevee? So I think the best way to improve your game is you just have to put the hours in. Like there's no real shortcut for getting the work in on yourself, but you need to understand yourself. Like for me, my game is built around, I have to be a good shooter and I have to be good at dribbling and I have to be good at moving. I need to be good at moving because it helps on defense. It helps with maneuvering my body. So all my training that I do personally is around shooting, dribbling, and I'll do gym work to help with my movement. And I think that you're not going to be able to work on everything. Like it wouldn't be effective for me doing post moves because it's not the player I want to be and it's not the player that I am. So I think work out where you want to improve, work out the areas that you want to perform at and work out what success would look like in those areas and then work backwards. I want to be a 50% 3-point shooter. Okay, well, let's work backwards and see where I need to start so that I can then get to these different points. Because it's great to have a goal and great to have an objective, but you need to go back to the beginning and layer it up. So for me, get the hours in, but definitely work on your body as well and work on your mind and definitely play as much as you can and enjoy it, because you need to explore playing the game to understand where you need to improve on the game, if that makes sense. Kirsty's asked me, what is the best thing you've learned throughout your basketball journey? The best thing I've learned in my basketball journey is be happy. Like, just be happy. Basketball is so, like, I can't, like, it's my passion. It's what I'm crazy about, like it's I really care about, but it is just a game. It's just a game. And if you put so much time and so much effort into something, enjoy it. Like, just enjoy it. Like, I think, when you have a bad game, when you have a bad training session, when you fall out with a teammate and stuff like that, sucks, but take those steps towards being happy and use basketball as that mechanism. Like, for me now, maybe back in my earlier years, basketball would stress me out sometimes. I'd be sad if I had a bad game, I'd be down, but ultimately, we go again and we just keep enjoying it. Just be happy. And that's kind of what basketball's taught me, is just to be happy with yourself and be happy with the things around you. Question, hope that answers that. Okay, and we've got, what will you keep doing in your basketball career? Yeah, good question. Yeah, that's another good question as well. Okay, so what will I do in my basketball career for the future? I don't know how many years I've got playing. Every year, I'm 32 now. My knees feel a little bit older day by day. My back feels a little bit sore day by day. My aim for however long I've got left, whether it's a year or 10 years, it's just to enjoy it and just to have fun, from a playing perspective, and stay healthy. Like, I like doing a lot of other things now. Like, I like doing my yoga, doing my surfing, being in the gym. Like, all those bits come from enjoying basketball. I wouldn't have explored these things if I didn't do basketball. And for me, it's about being happy and healthy, and that's just how I want to go out and just enjoy whatever time I've got left playing. From a coaching standpoint, you know, I really want to progress Scottish basketball. That's my aim. I want to progress Scottish basketball. I want to have a positive impact on the people that I'm lucky enough to work with, and, you know, pass on the love that I have for the game and share that, because the thing that makes me happiest about coaching and about my job, it's not when we win, it's when you guys take basketball on as your own identity and it becomes important to you. If that's the thing that I can pass on to you, like, it's been so influential in my life and I love it, that it really, really warms my heart seeing other people take it on themselves as well. Okay, did you do well in school? Yeah, I did all right. Like, I finished with 5 hires. I've got a degree. I've got an undergraduate degree. Like, I've got a 2-1 in that, which is like a B. Is that B? I think it's a B. No, I got a 2-2. I tell a lie. I got a C for my university degree. But yeah, my 2 brothers. I've got 2 brothers that are very academic, and they're both doctors of physics. So I didn't do badly in school, but I was asking my mum this question the other day, because, you know, a lot of kids they miss time for exams, or they miss time for studying. I was like, "Oh, Mum, did I ever miss stuff for school?" And she was like, "Ewan, let's be honest, you probably would have missed an exam for a basketball game. Like, let's be fair." But what I would say is, if you're serious about something and you really love something and you care about something, like, you'll make it work. Like, get your education, because it's a passport to you doing better things. Those better things can involve basketball. If you have 5 hires, if you have your degree, you can still use those things, and those things will enhance your basketball opportunities. If you have 5 A's, you can go to an English college early. If you have really high SAT scores, you can go to a good American college. You know, if you've shored up your university degree, then you can take a chance and maybe take a year trying to play abroad or do something different. They don't have to be against each other. They can work with each other. But I probably could have done a little bit better. Let's be fair. Okay, do we have any more questions? Okay. Well, guys, thanks so much for your time. Thank you for hopping on the call, and I knew it was going to be a mad ramble. There's a lot of years to cover now. But if you guys have any questions, you know, you can message Blaze, you can message the B-Ball Blaze workouts. I run that channel, and just let me know if anything pops into your mind. But thank you for giving up your time on a early Friday evening to listen to me ramble. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Cheers.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Birthday.
Bye.
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 Happy birthday.
Thank you. Cheers, guys.